Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about today's video because I will be sharing the story how I went from creating videos on YouTube to now having my products in Walmart stores. So if you guys want to hear my story on how I started my business and how I got it to where it is today, stay tuned. All right, so if I'm looking down, I'm reading my notes. I want to make sure I don't miss any parts of my story. I started YouTube 10 years ago, and as you can see, I don't have a ton of subscribers. That's why I always say don't get caught up on subscribers. Get caught up on building a loyal audience who believes in, the content that you're bringing, because that definitely can turn into something else. And that's exactly what happened for me. I was providing content, educational content on YouTube, and I was actually able to grow my business because of that. So back in 2011, I started my YouTube channel, and YouTube wasn't as big of a deal as it is today. Like today, you have to put on a full production to get in front of the camera. And honestly, the reason why I started a YouTube channel was because I was in graduate school. I was bored. I was watching other people do YouTube, and I was like, hey, I could do that myself. So that's why I started my channel. So I started in 2011 and I created a couple of videos, but it wasn't until 2013 when I had my daughter when I started creating content that I really enjoyed doing, and that's when I started really building an audience and getting a lot of views based on my content. So in 2013, I had my daughter, and I was actually showing people how to do kids' hair. I was just doing it as a hobby. I had no intentions on doing it as a business. I really just wanted to show people how I was taking care of her hair, how I was taking care of my hair. At that time, I had went from being natural, then I struggled with being natural. I went to texturized, then I went back to natural. So I was showing all of my hair struggles, but in that process, I was making my own hair products. Now, when I was making my own hair products, I never really had the intention to sell the products. I just realized that the products that I was using, one, wasn't working for my hair, two, and it was just too harmful for my daughter's hair. I remember at that time there was a class action lawsuit for a product that I was using in my daughter's hair, and that's when I was like, nope, I'm not using any more products from the store on her hair, because I just didn't want anything to happen to my hair and her hair. So at that time, I was just doing simple hairstyles, showing people how to take care of kids' hair, and then I would make my own products. So when I was making my own products, my audience was really intrigued by the products that I was making. So I didn't realize that people were really interested in the products that I was making. One day I was driving home from work, and my husband said, hey, I've been reading your comments, and I really think you should sell your products because your audience really wants them. And I'm like, well, I'm not really sure. If anybody knows me, anything that I do, I put my best foot forward. And if I feel like I can't do my best, I'm not going to do it. So I took a while to think about it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I went ahead and did it. One of my first products was my Everything Butter, which is a shea butter blend. So I'm going to go back to my notes. So then I had my first 3 products on Etsy. I had my Everything Butter, my Grow Thick Oil, and my Moisturizing Mist. At that time, I still wasn't trying to start a business. I was just trying to provide my products to the people who were asking for them in the videos that they saw. Around that time, people were not being pushed to buy. And what I mean by push to buy is every time you pick up your phone, you're being sold something. You go on Instagram, an ad pops up. You go on Facebook, an ad pops up. You go on Google, an ad pops up. Ads are always everywhere. Whereas back then, there were no Facebook ads. There was no it was no ads and things like that. So if people wanted the information, they had to search for it. So they were searching for healthy hair care practices or healthy kid hair practices, and that's how they would find my videos. So once they would find my videos, they would see how well the product works. That's when they would go ahead and purchase. So that's how I was able to build up my audience, build up my customer base without really doing any marketing, because the product spoke for themselves. I started having people tell friends and family about it. I started having people asking if they can buy wholesale, and this was just solely based off of showing YouTube videos, doing what I already had been doing naturally, and just creating a product that I was passionate about. So once about that year and a half mark happened, where we started really making a lot of money from the business, we decided, okay, this is no longer a hobby. We're gonna really turn this into a business. We're gonna stop printing, labels from my house. We're gonna get manufacturing, and that was really important. We had to get manufacturing because at that time, probably like that year and a half into the business, we were making products in the kitchen. So we were spending every single weekend making products in the kitchen. Mind you, I was still working a full-time job as a licensed therapist. My husband worked full-time job. My mom was coming in to help us. So we were literally making products for 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday. Then we were putting the labels on the products. And then every day, Monday through Friday, I would go to the post office during my lunch break, ship out products. During my lunch break, I was doing a lot of working. I was shipping out products. I was answering customer service emails, calling people, doing whatever I could do in that hour. So on average, I was spending about a full, 30 hours a week on my business in addition to working my job. So I do have a whole nother video on how to know when to quit your job. Make sure you check that out, because I do kind of tell the story of when I was ready to leave my job. So once we decided, okay, we can no longer keep up with, doing this stuff at home, we then started to find a manufacturer for our products. So we went and looked for manufacturers. And for me, when I was looking for a manufacturer, I wanted to make sure that I did not go from making products in my kitchen that people love to working with a manufacturer that was going to water down my products. So finding a manufacturer was pretty much the hardest part of my business, because the process to make my products is not very simple, and I wanted to keep the process and the integrity the same from the day that I put it out on Etsy up until when I was mass producing my products. So I eventually found a manufacturer that I felt comfortable with, and from there I was able to build a business more, because I wasn't really focused on making products anymore, because I had somebody making it in bulk. So I was focused more so on the creative aspect of growing my business. I started learning how to do marketing. I started learning how to do ads. This was when Facebook ads started really turning off. I started learning how to do marketing. I started learning how to do ads. And then I started focusing on doing trade shows. Also in that time, my husband was figuring out how we could scale our business and cut down our costs. He was figuring out how we could get our product in bulk, how we could get manufacturing, the process of doing distribution, as well as figuring out how to update our packaging, and do anything that we needed to do in order to scale our business. I call me and my husband a dream team, because I have a bachelor's in business and he has a bachelor's in finance. He's a financial analyst, but I'm more of the creative behind the business, and he is really all about making sure that we are profitable. So during that time, we were spending a lot of time just figuring figuring out how we could transform the products that we were making at home to something that would be very profitable and that we could use those profits to grow our business. Hey boss, do you have an idea that you're looking to turn into a business? I just came out with a free workbook, and in this workbook we'll talk about how to transform your idea into a niche and how to set it up into a business. So if this is something you're interested in, click the link in my description box to get your free copy. Trade shows is really what helped my business go from one level to the next level. The first trade show that I had ever did was the World Natural Hair Show in Atlanta. And the thing that I learned from actually going to that trade show was that I learned who my customer was. A lot of times we kind of build up this customer avatar, or we build up this customer in our head, but it's a little bit different when you see that customer interacting with your product and you get to really know who that customer is. So I would do trade shows and I would make sure I learned so much about my customers so that when I was creating products or I was doing marketing or whatever, I spoke directly to my customers. So I started really focusing my attention more so on that. The other good thing about trade shows is I made so many good business relationships. This is where I've met other manufacturers for my business. I've met my distributor, and a distributor is someone who sells your product on your behalf. And I met with beauty supply stores as well as big box stores. So I really had, so from my first trade show, my goal was to always do at least 5 shows. So that's what I really started focusing on. I started focusing on doing trade shows, having more people learn about my brand, developing business relationships, and really growing a professional brand. Because like I said, once we realized that it was no longer a hobby, the next focus after we got manufacturing down was to really scale the business. So from then I started collaborating with influencers that, look like my target audience, look like myself, that really was, what the brand represented. So in 2017, that's when I got my first warehouse. Now, before I actually got my first warehouse, and I tell people this all the time, when they start a business. When you start a business, the worst thing you can do is grow too fast, too soon, because your overhead cost becomes very expensive. So before I had my first warehouse, I was storing products in I had a big coat closet in my house. So I started from storing products in my coat closet. Once I grew out of that space, I started utilizing my garage. Once I grew out of that space, I moved into a storage. So basically, a self-storage place. I would store my products there, get just enough inventory to ship out for the week. And honestly, I always recommend people to get a storage one, because your storage rent can be like $150 depending on where you lived. I think the most that I had paid was around $300 or $400 for storage rent, and that's when I was at like 300 feet. So I kept continuously growing to the point where a storage facility was no longer an option. Another thing that I also want to point out is a good thing about a storage facility is if you are getting items in bulk, if you are getting wholesale items, a lot of our containers were purchased in bulk and they come on a pallet. The good thing is if you're living in a house or if you're living in an apartment, you cannot deliver a pallet to your home. Whereas if you're in a storage facility, they can actually put that pallet directly into your storage, and it makes it easier for you to have a place to store your stuff. So in 2017, I had completely got to the point where I needed a warehouse. So that's when I found my first warehouse. My first warehouse, I signed a 3-year lease there. And this really helped me to it really helped change my business. So once I moved into there, I was ready to start shipping out to stores. So in the beginning, I did work directly with beauty supply stores, and I think at that time I may have been selling to 70 beauty supply stores. So the way I started working with beauty supply stores is they would contact me, ask me if they can have my product in the stores, and I would work directly with those beauty supply stores. So around 2018, that is when I started focusing on getting into big box stores. The thing about big box stores is you cannot be in a big box store if you don't have a lot of inventory. So at that time, I was still working my full-time job, and I also did not spend any money that I made from my business. So we had a lot of money in the bank, and I was able to do this by not by continuing to work and reinvesting the money into a business. So I never took out any loans. I never did anything. I never borrowed money to grow my business. The only money that I used to grow my business is the money that I started out with, that me and my husband put together to buy everything early on in the business. And then from there, once the business started to grow, we would save that money and reinvest into the business. So by 2018, we were able to pretty much have a warehouse full of our products that we would buy from our manufacturer, because when you want to be in a big box store, you have to literally have thousands of units on hand, and it was important for us to be ready to have thousands of units on hand in order to grow the business. So that's when I started pitching to different stores. So I started pitching to different stores, and honestly, if you're not built for no, owning a business is not for you, because I got a lot of no's before I got a yes. So we pitched to the big box stores that you see the natural hair products in. I'm not going to say them all, but pretty much all of those stores we pitched to. And my first successful pitch was I actually had two successful pitches. My first successful pitch was from a store called Navy Exchange, and basically that's it's like a Walmart on bases. So anybody who is in the military can go to the store, and they pretty much have a lot of big name brands, and that's the first big chain of stores that I was in. And I'm glad that's the first big chain of stores that I was in, because you learn so much from the process on how to ship out purchase orders. I learned how to make sure that my stuff was packaged correctly, that my SKUs were correct, that my G10s were correct. All of these things have to be in order for you to ship to those big box stores. So I'll tell you about some of the no's that I had. So some of the no's that I had was that my products pretty much were not different than what was currently being sold on the market. And when you're in a big box store, what they're looking for is they are looking for innovation. An example, if you have 2 bottles of water, right? What differentiates your bottle of water from this product's bottle of water? Now, I knew that my products worked really well because I had great customers. I was making a lot of money with my business, but it was not enough to convince a big box store on why I needed to have these products in their store. So after I got my nose, I went back to the drawing board, because as you can see, my first collection right there was my ultimate collection. This was the very first set of products that I came out with when I first launched my products on YouTube. And so I knew I was still creating products behind the scenes, but I was really unsure if the products that I was creating was what someone wanted, because I thought that, I would stop there. And when you are a business owner, you always have to be innovative. You also always have to come out with new products. And so, the nose wasn't going to stop me. It was all about being innovative. And behind the scenes, I was still formulating, I was still using natural ingredients, and I had went vegan. When did I go vegan? I think I went vegan in 2016. So in 2016, I changed my eating habits, and I also changed what I was using in my hair. I was following the Ayurvedic hair regimen, which meant using powders. I had already been using powders in my hair early on in my hair regimen, but I was using powders, I was using oils, I was using a lot of things that people were not really purchasing. Black people were not really using in their hair. And I was like, you know what, I'm already making this. I already know it works. Let's just go ahead and create a whole line dedicated to this specific hair regimen. So that's what I started doing. I started really working on that. It took me a long time. One, because I had already been doing it without actually knowing that I was doing it, but also because I had to basically create a whole line all at once. So once my new line of products came out, somewhere in between there, I have found my distributors. Now, one thing I will say is I have been approached by several distributors along my entrepreneurial journey. So I've been approach, and basically what a distributor does is they sell on your behalf. So they advocate for your brand, they help your brand to grow, they give your brand exposure, and they really they have the relationships with some of the big box stores. So I had let my distributor know that we had a product, we had a line of products, and this time around, we want to, tell the big box stores that we think this product would be great. We had already been testing the market. We had a full rollout, and people responding very well to it. They were seeing significant results. There were no products like this on the market, and that's when we presented it to several big box stores, and Walmart loved it. So from there, I remember the day that I got the call. It was actually Labor Day last year. They said that Walmart wants to put our products in the store beginning next year. So we still had time to prepare for that. But I was super, super, super excited. And then from there, we just, from September all the way up till, I want to say February, we didn't tell anybody, but we prepared for our launch in Walmart. So that's pretty much how I got into Walmart stores. What I'm still doing with my brand is I'm still selling online. Having products in Walmart is great, but I also, focus on my online sales, building up my customer base, and pretty much bringing out products to my customers online to try first, because if my customers respond to it and my customers love it, I know that I can make it easily accessible to everyone else. So one thing that I will say from my journey that I tell other people who's looking to start a business is, one, don't compare yourself to other people, because comparison is the thief of joy. Throughout my whole journey, I never really compared myself to anyone else. I just pretty much focused on the bigger picture, and sometimes that becomes difficult because like I said earlier, I worked for a long time before I went full-time with my business. I think everybody has this expectation that starting a business is going to be easy, and there were times where it was very difficult for me. It was very challenging. It was very challenging, one, because I am married, I have a daughter, I still, I enjoy creating content on YouTube, I'm running this business, and I was working full time, and most times I felt burnt out, but I always focused on the bigger picture. So I tell people, always focus on the bigger picture, no matter what your business is. Set a very high goal for yourself, and then create small goals to get there. So yeah, if you found this video helpful, let me know below. Let me know some of your questions that you have on my journey. I pretty much probably left bits and pieces out. I didn't share every single part in there, but if you have any questions, let me know. And also, if you are interested, download my free workbook. It just came out. It's about how to turn your idea into a business and how to really develop that. And if you are a business owner and you are looking for a coach, I do now offer coaching services on my website, kiaj.com. So make sure you check me out. And if you're not following me on social media, make sure you guys follow me. I'm on Instagram, and I love connecting with other entrepreneurs. So I'll see you guys in my next entrepreneurship video.